to start speaking, I wanted to change my life so badly. Like I knew I had something inside me that was like born for greatness, I guess you could say. And I think a lot of people have that feeling. But I eventually just got to the point where I wanted that so bad that the past stories and all those things that had affected me previously, it was just like, screw it. Like I'm over that, right? Like I'm not going to let that affect my life. And ultimately for me, speaking was a way to impact other people's lives. So it was like, don't let my selfish needs get in the way of changing someone else's life. And so that was kind of like some of the things I dealt with to ultimately get over that fear.
So I think and I love that you speak like real authentically about this, because I find that
I don't think I ever shared that with anybody.
So and I'm surprised that you haven't, because I was the older brother. So my brother was the younger brother. I was the more outgoing. So I was like your brother, but I wasn't per se like before like high school. I was very like awkward, short shorts, blue short shorts. I loved them, like teased, picked on, special ed classes. And then in high school, I started becoming really good at sports and started to understand myself, but I didn't understand how to understand myself. So I was just doing it more naturally than. So I love that you talk about that, because I find that there's so many people out there that want a dream career, but they get so bent up on their fears, which they don't even know it's a fear yet.
Yeah.
And it's stopping them, but they don't even know how to know, or they don't know how to learn. They know how to they know learning is X, like, let me go over my speech a bunch of times, but they don't necessarily know how to like speak truth for, their past experiences and either forgive themselves or clear a past experience, however they want to do it. So I love that.
Yeah. I think one of the truest statements that I've always seen show up in my life, and it totally tunes into this, is that like, you don't know what you don't know, and that's why you don't have. Right. And one thing Jim Rohn said, he's like the OG of personal development, is he said, we don't do personal development because we're weak. We do it to remain strong. Right. And so I've always kind of approached my life with that philosophy of, if I'm not even in a place where I feel like I'm not enjoying my life or whatever, like I'm still going to grow. I'm still going to push myself into experiences that can expand my way of thinking, because every time I've done that, all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know that about, like, I think that way. And I didn't even know that I think that way. And like, and then all of a sudden that expands the way you think, that expands the way you look at life, that changes everything in your life. And it's because you had this philosophy that you don't know what you don't know. It's why you don't have.
That's so powerful. I always talk to our kids about, you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. I love that.
So I find that I have the most amazing father, loving, amazing, like unconditionally loving. I've really grown to learn how to love unconditionally from his examples. And I find that there's so many guys out there that they think it's tough to hide that authentic, whether feeling, belief, whatever that is, versus being vulnerable. It's interesting how it's harder to be vulnerable than it is to be tough. But we're told as kids to be tough, suck it up, don't cry, as boys in America, or at least most boys. How can we add value to men today to, obviously they have their crappy plan. They need to look outside the box and network and grow and go towards everything. What do you, when they have this crappy plan, how do you recommend that they really look inside to see what's blocking them from taking that next step or getting that next deal, or, maybe finding the right partner, whether business or professional or personal?
Yeah, I would say two things. One, I'm a massive, massive believer of experiential learning. And the simplest way I'll break that down is like, imagine how you found out you loved pizza, right? If you don't love pizza, let's just say ice cream. Everybody loves ice cream, right? So whatever it is, like some food that you love, how did you figure out that you liked it in your life? Did you, go up and see a pizza one day and like smell it and you're like, oh, that smells good. It looks good. Your friend came by and was like, yo, pizza's good. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I like pizza. Like, is that how you found out you like pizza? Absolutely not. you found out you like pizza because you tried a slice and you were like, oh my God, this is unfreaking believable. I love this, right? I'm probably gonna eat pizza the rest of my life. And what you want to understand is that as you're going throughout your life and you're trying to look internal, sometimes we perceive things, and then when we actually do them, it is entirely different than the perception that we give it, right? And so oftentimes before we dive into something, we're making all these assumptions, and they say if you assume something, it makes an ass out of you and me. That's how you spell assume, right? And so many people go in life assuming things and wondering how something's going to be if they try it, if they do it, and thinking if they do it, they got to commit to it the rest of their life. Like, I think one of the best understandings is that, like, honestly, by the time we get older, we'll probably live till we're like 90, 100 years old. Yeah, we're going to live super long. So it's like, I think sometimes people get so caught up in that I got to figure it out quick, or I got to nail it down, or like there's this kid on Instagram that's 20 years old that's a multimillionaire and I'm 20 whatever and I haven't figured it out. So like I got to have it figured out tomorrow. And it's like take a deep breath, relax, and go into life just approaching it with how can you taste things? How can you try things? And as you start to try things, what's going to happen is your internal compass is going to start to tell you, oh, you actually don't like that. Or, oh, from that, you like this and you don't like that. And yeah, you got to tap into your awareness as you go through these experiences. But the worst way to try to tap into that internal compass is just by sitting on a couch going this, that, the other, what's going to happen, and trying to just like guess how everything's going to turn out, because truthfully, you have no idea until you actually try it. So that's one thing that I would say. And then the second thing I would say is just whether it's, immersing in some sort of an event or getting a coach or an accountability partner, like find some sort of external person or experience or something that you can start to tune in with, because they will be able to look at what's going on in your world in a different way because they're looking from the outside. Because, sometimes we try to be the best coach for ourselves, but the reason sometimes that we're not where we are is because we're our coach, right? It's like, if we knew what we knew, we'd have what we wanted, right? But then again, you don't know what you don't know. So, I think those are two things: is experiment, try things. And then if you can somehow find someone that can help you just sort of like check in with yourself, that's going to help you figure out this sort of internal, I don't know if mess would be the right word, right? We all probably got a little bit of a mess internally, but it'll help you figure out what's going on the inside and be able to then create that on the outside.
So I love the mess thing. So it's interesting how I was raised in church, for instance, and you too?
A little bit when I was younger, and then I got reintroduced when I was just in my 20s, and so now I go to church.
And so I find that there's this like forgiveness concept, and I look at like the self-help world, and I look at this like it's like, and I think Tony said this on I'm Not Your Guru, where he said something like there's, I get to support you, something on like pulling out your weeds, but it's not like, I forget the words, but the context, I believe you probably have watched it more than me, was something as like, you're not broken. Yeah. You just have some stuff going on. And I find that I look at like the Bible side of it, of more of a victim, like I'm not powerful, I'm not strong kind of mentality, like I can't do it alone, versus, we were given so many tools and we're being given so much to be so strong and influential. We get to pick our friends, have the right coaches around us. So I love, what you're saying about, about what you've learned on how to get what you want. I think it's really powerful. Most people don't get those little things, definitely earlier in life. And I know a lot of people that listen to this, they're younger than older. What is go ahead.
So one thing, because you said the word forgiveness and something just popped in my mind, I wanted to share it, but a powerful thing that I learned throughout my life, and I've never really been someone that like held grudges or, had like a quote unquote like shit list or whatever, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of people go through life, and one thing that I learned from Tony when I was at one of his events, is sometimes people go through life and they have people that did them wrong, whether it was a mom, a dad, or, you know, a sibling, or, you know, something, teacher, someone that, you know, went through your life and maybe did something bad to you, didn't love you the way you wanted, whatever it is. And two things is that, like, one, forgiveness, I was always told, is like taking a pain pill and expecting someone else to die. But more so, I think the reality that sometimes we need to face with this forgiveness thing, and something that Tony shared with me, is he goes, you know, if you're going to blame who, let's say it's your dad, if you're going to blame your dad for, you know, this thing he did to you when you were little, or maybe he said this to you, and, you know, whatever, you're going to blame him for all the bad shit, then you have to blame him for all of the good stuff. Right? Maybe the bad thing was he didn't love you the way you wanted. Maybe the good thing was because of that, you were so driven in your life to prove to him that you were somebody. And from that, you've created an incredible business. You've made something of yourself. You've, you know, made an impact in the world. And you walk around still hating your dad because he didn't love you the way that you thought he was, but you've never actually blamed him for all the good shit that he gave you. Right. And so I think, you know, for some people that are dealing with something with forgiveness, it's like, what are the good things that you can blame them for? And then give that person a call, literally, and go, hey, like, I need to talk to you. I need to blame you for some stuff. And then just go off on a list and just tell them all the good things that you need to blame them for. And I don't know if any healing will come from that, but I can guarantee you that you're going to feel lighter once you start to have those conversations and forgive, you know, not only for the bad stuff, but also start blaming for the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that it's interesting to me is that I find that people, in my past, have blamed people for things, or blame myself. You know, and I find the blame word is more for like the negative, right? And I know Tony turns it too and goes, well, blame them for the positive. Like, yeah. You know, don't use a negative positive word. Just, you know, a negative word, use it for both sides to be able to show who somebody really is, instead of those 5% where they're, you know, maybe not living up to your expectations. So I love how he switches that, because I find that there are so many people that blame themselves so much more than they blame other people. But it's a reflection on what's going on internally, and they can't see it. I call it woke, be awake, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It's great because there's so many people right now starting to wake up, and, you know, whether in politics or, you know, whatever topic it is, I find that, like, I love what's happening in politics over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, because so many people are waking up on both sides. No matter what side it is, we're starting to look at stuff. Like, the number one thing I say on people that you know, look at a projection is this is what's going on in the world. I mean, how we created our country originally, what we did, who we are. It's amazing to be able to see who's in office, but then 99.99% of people, even the smartest ones I know, like one politician or the other these days, and they're not even going in and diving into who that person really is, what they voted for, what the policies they signed are. Yeah. So I look at this stuff, it's like, hold on, if the smartest people that I know aren't really diving into this, are you know, our other people that are average, you know, or our kids for sure, they think Christopher Columbus discovered America. Like, that's insane to me. So we're not even teaching. I came up with this concept, belief intelligence. So social emotional intelligence was created. So I trademarked belief intelligence, and we're doing a whole thing. We've been doing a whole thing with it for like 7 years, and it's great because it's how do you know what you really believe, and then how do you create a belief, but you never create an original belief, because you're always given a subconscious with a set of beliefs from your parents or TV or media. Yeah. Where do you think the future of speaking, transformation, coaching, your world is going, definitely with, you know, whether COVID or, you know, I love Zoom now. It's amazing. You and I don't have to travel. We get 45 minutes together. It's a huge blessing. We don't have to travel, so it cuts down on time. We can do more. We can impact more. Yeah. Where's this all leading to?
Yeah, I think with speaking, it's been super interesting to obviously watch what's going on in our world with Tony Robbins and speaking and all these different things, because, you know, before it was live events